Good morning, my people. Welcome back to my world of stuff. Yeah, it's another beautiful sunny day in the UK, summer 2023. Tuesday the 8th, and I'm off to see The Meg 2: The Trench at last. Yep, this came out last Friday. Looks a bit yellow in the background. It's a bit weird. Yeah, this came out last Friday. I haven't got around to seeing it yet. So, having watched the first Meg on Friday, which I really enjoyed, I'm interested to see the second one. The reviews haven't been great. The box office has been very good, though. So, yeah, let's go and see what the Meg 2 has to offer.
Hours later.
So, the Meg 2. I'm sure I've seen a stupider film in all my years of film going, but I damned if I can think of it at the moment. Right, I'm back in the cinema room to talk about the Meg 2: The Trench. What a bizarre film. Anyway, it's directed by Ben Wheatley. It's from a script by these guys who did the previous film. If you're interested in what I thought of the original Meg film from 2018, just nip back a couple of videos and you'll see my retro movie review of it, which I did to reacquaint myself with the characters and the situation and things. And I'm glad I did, because there are some supporting characters that return in this sequel. It is a really stupid film. I mean, I'll sum it up that way to start with. It's a very stupid film. As I said, it's directed by Ben Wheatley, and as I've said again and again, that just fascinated me, because Ben Wheatley is one of our most interesting sort of indie directors, I suppose. He's sort of slightly maverick. He does slightly odd, off-the-wall films. I haven't seen all his films, but the ones I've really liked have been The Kill List, Sightseers, I still think is his best film. Field in England. He did the very odd pandemic sort of folk horror In the Earth, which came out year before last, I think it was. And he's done mainstream stuff with things like High Rise and Rebecca for Netflix. This is his big budget Hollywood blockbuster. And I wasn't sure watching it, and certainly when I came out thinking about it, I was sort of expecting his sensibilities to do something with the form of the monster blockbuster, the summer film, and I thought surely he's going to do something interesting and different, and he didn't really. Now, I thought he'd subvert it a little bit and sort of take little digs at it, and I think possibly, if you're being generous, you could say that he has done that by making a film that is so stupid in so many ways, and so unbelievable and so fanciful, that you have to not only suspend your disbelief, I've sort of said this analogy before, you have to hang it from a tree until it's dead, because it is completely just dumb, really dumb. And I was, towards the last 40 minutes, which is where the stuff you want to see in a film like this happens, I just sort of clicked my brain right off and thought, well, this is just silly and I'll just go with it. But it is silly in a go with it way that's a bit irritating, because it doesn't do the film itself any particular services, and it doesn't really do much for the genre. These sort of films that are, cast aside as stupid action films. This is a prime example of that, and I was hoping that Ben Wheatley would do something to elevate it, to give it another level, but I really don't think it's got that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, because it's just too silly. The basic story is it's 5 years after the events of the first film. Our hero Jonas, who has now incidentally evolved into a sort of cross between James Bond and Aquaman, judging by some of the things he gets up to in this film. He's a sort of an eco-warrior, if you like. We see him infiltrating a sea vessel that's dumping radioactive waste. It's a bit of a tussle. He jumps into the water to escape before he's killed, and he's rescued by his two old friends from the previous film, played by Paige Kennedy and Cliff Curtis, who are back from the first film. We then discover that the young Chinese girl from the first film, her mother has died. The mother was played by Lei Bingbing in the first film. And they built up a sort of romantic thing between her and Jonas, but she's now off. The girl's now 14. She's doing what 14-year-old girls always do in these films. She wants to go and do things that she shouldn't do and be places where she shouldn't be. So she ingratiates herself aboard a 2-vessel team that's going to explore the trench. So you remember from the first film with the thermic vent thing where all these prehistoric creatures, the Megs, were escaping from. So she goes aboard the ship. Of course, there's a bit of a disaster. When they're down there, they discover another undersea base. There is a villain who, just to make sure that we know, I shouldn't say she, but it's a woman, sorry, just so that we know that she's villainous. She actually says, at one point, what they're going to do. No one will know how bad we've been or the bad things we've done. Just to make out, bad lady, you bad person. The script's that unsubtle. So anyway, it all escalates. They're trapped, and it's all very exciting. And they're down on the sea, and all the things that happen with running out of oxygen and trying to get to airlocks and being compromised and escape pods and all that sort of undersea stuff that you expect, which is actually all right. I mean, a lot of people, I think, in the review said they found the first hour a bit dull because there wasn't much Meg action, and there isn't a lot of Meg action in the first hour. They sort of drift in and out now and again, and they swim past, but they're not the focus of the story. The focus of the story are the two teams. I think it's the Mano 1 base that we remember from the first film, where the investigations into the marine life are taking place, and this base right down in the bottom of the trench, which is trying to exploit what's in the trench. So that's the two sort of conflicts in the first half of the film. By the time Jason and his chums get back up to the sea, lots of other things have escaped because there's now a hole in the trench. It's been blown in the trench. So lots of Megs and lots of other creatures, including these sort of prehistoric crocodile creatures and a giant octopus, have all escaped. And they're heading to a place which is called Fun Island. It's called Fun Island. Why is it called Fun Island? Because people have fun there. They're out enjoying themselves in the sea, and it's sort of Jaws again. Get out of the water, and then the monsters attack, and then ludicrous things happen. It's just... I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy it. I sort of did. I sort of sat there and just let it wash over me, which is appropriate for a film set in the water. But I was very conscious of the fact that it is not a good film. The dialogue is very much of the that was close, too close variety. There's not a lot of subtlety to it at all. It is a sequel to the Meg called Meg 2: The Trench, with lots more monsters. There's bits I quite liked. I liked the introductory bit, which is set in the Cretaceous period, which shows the sort of pecking order of the creatures in prehistoric times, which is sort of reflected then later on in the film, I suppose. So yeah, I will say that the action scenes are all very well staged. The special effects are fantastic. Ben Wheatley directs it very well. Considering it's his first film of this size, I think he acquits himself very well with quite a large cast, a lot of extras, a lot of stuff going on. It's all done with brio and confidence. But it's ultimately, you can't help thinking this is really stupid, because again, the laws of gravity and physics don't seem to apply a lot in these films. People have these ludicrous escapes. And although there's a lot of monster action in the last 40 minutes, it's very bloodless. It's very much aimed at a family audience, because funny enough, I went to see it at an early screening this morning. I was surprised how busy it was, actually. I'd like to go early, so I got the screen pretty much to myself. But it was actually quite busy with a lot of people in. And there were a lot of people with younger kids. And I say younger kids, sort of 10, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds maybe. So it's very much aimed at that audience, because a lot of people get offed and eaten, and, but there's no spurting blood or dismemberment or anything. It's just family-friendly monster action. And I suppose on that basis, it eventually gives people what they want. I think people have criticised that first hour, and I understand why, because it isn't the Meg 2 at that point. It's Jason Statham and co. Being action adventurers. But I found that was okay, and that didn't concern me that much. And the monster stuff is what you think it's going to be. And it's, like I said, very well done. So I'll say, in summation, it's a very well made film. It's, Ben Wheatley is very good at this. I did hope there would be a little bit more edge to it, a little bit more, not satire exactly, but perhaps a little bit more tongue-in-cheek. knowingness about it, but it didn't seem to have that. It wasn't irreverent, and I was hoping it would be a bit more irreverent. It is a bit more quite serious in what it's doing. But maybe it's a very deep subtext that's sort of hidden under the layers, but it's so well hidden I didn't see it. But it's well made. The acting is what it has to be. It's nice to see a couple of those returning characters, even though I think his name's DJ, played by Paige Kennedy, now seems to be a completely different person. I think there's even a line where he explains that since the last film, he's learned to swim and he's learned martial arts, which comes in quite handy in a couple of scenes. But as I say, the script is just, it's one of those scripts that you could imagine actually being made by AI. There's a lot of talk about AI written scripts at the moment. This feels a bit like that. So it's not as good as the first one, which I really enjoyed. I enjoyed watching that again the other day, and that had a sense of scale and believability about it. This is nuts. It is stupid. So it's out now. It's going to do very well. It's already taken a lot of money because very, very cleverly the studio sort of aim it at the Chinese audience. There's a lot of Chinese characters and locations and things, and that's where the money is, because that's where it's made a lot of its money in its first weekend. I think it's taken something like 140 odd million on a 129 million budget, so it's going to do well, and I imagine there will be a third one because there's an audience for monster films. I love monster films. I just wasn't fussed on this one. That's The Meg 2 is in cinemas now. If you want to go see it, why not go and see it? If you've seen it, let me know what you thought of it. Leave a comment down below. Like and subscribe. Press that button to subscribe. And I will give The Meg a rating of, I'm going to give it 5 out of 10. And I think that's probably quite a generous 5 because it probably doesn't really deserve that. But, it's not boring. It's just dumb. Right, thank you for watching. I will see you soon until I do. Yeah, keep taking the stuff.